Hi and welcome to the Cloaked Hedgehog's YouTube channel. Today we'll continue to listen to encounters with the Dogman, and now we're going to focus on those from California. This encounter comes from the forum at abouttopsecret.com. Let's see, this was about a year ago. I was stationed in Monterey, California. Me and my buddies had a bad habit of always being in the woods at night, drinking, and it was rather creepy in the woods there. I really don't know why, but it was. Anyway, we had left a book bag full of brewskis hanging on a limb in the dark at our spot. The next night, me and my girlfriend at the time went back for it. It was only about 8, and it was just starting to get dark, but in the woods it was quite blind. Well, as we stood there on the woodland path, debating over how to best retrieve our satchel of goodies, my girlfriend, Sarah we'll call her, had hushed me. She had heard something, and I hadn't, as I was messing with my phone, calling another buddy of mine, trying to find our bag. She grabbed my phone and put it in her pocket to diminish the light. I tried to get it back before I heard a twig snap. I realized why she was so antsy all of a sudden. We both were looking down the path we had come. The path dipped and then went up a hill and had trees on both sides. And to our far left was a little ridge with a 30-foot drop to give you some idea of the environment. Anyway, we both stood still, and out of a habitual instinct, I had grabbed a corkscrew out of my pocket. Not like it would give me any defense, but adrenaline makes you think crazy things. As we stood there, we heard large footsteps break the gravel on the path. It was too big to be a bobcat or something, and the sounds we heard weren't similar to a feline's at all. We thought a wolf, but still, it was too oddly shaped. It continued to move about, closer to us, but not like it was going to attack us. Or maybe it was, who knows? Our eyes adapted to the dark a little better. I almost took a step forward, but the creature's sudden movement halted me. It had been startled, and it stood up on its hind legs, very fluidly, not shaky like a dog. It looked to be stretching, but it growled while doing so. The sounds were also very strange. They were deep and almost eerie. The light of passing cars from the road over the path's hill occasionally showed us what this thing was. It was jet black and rather large, maybe 8 feet tall. It wasn't chubby by any sense, but other than that I couldn't tell. Me and Sarah began moving towards it, trying to escape somehow. Luckily for us, a semi had driven by and blew its horn. This startled the thing even more, and it made off to its right into the brush and let out some kind of bark. We heard it move farther away, but we didn't procrastinate. We booked it out of there, forgetting the satchel of goodies and all. We didn't stop running until we got back into downtown Monterey. Now we don't know what it was, and disbelieve me if you must, but we saw something that night. Like I said, I have no idea if it was a lycanthrope, but it would be my best guess. Cabinet of Wonders posted this next story. It's no longer there, but it can be found at ghosttheory.com. It started, I suppose, last winter. Being in a particularly dry area of Southern California, it was to my great surprise when a friend of mine and I discovered a sizable lake just over a small ridge on a well-traveled road in our area. We began exploration of the area, aided by Google Earth, which revealed a large number of lakes in the same vicinity. The lakes, as was later to discover, were part of the valley's flood control system and hold water for much of the year. During one of our explorations, we found something out of place. It was February, I believe, and after the rainy season. The grass had grown pretty tall on the ridge overlooking the first lake we found. On this ridge we found a trail of very large footprints. These prints were approaching 2 feet in length, with a very long stride, longer than that of my friend who is 6'6". We followed these prints for a good quarter mile before they disappeared into the chaparral. From then on we dubbed the creature Lake Ape and made many subsequent searches, to no avail, besides the discovery of several more lakes. My friend decided to drive down the new side road alone one night. What made him do it, I don't know. That road is terrifying at night. He was nearing the first of the terraced hills when a figure crossed the road in front of him. He described it as a tall, dark humanoid. It then climbed a 5 to 6 foot berm on the side of the road and disappeared in the direction of the hill. We returned to the area the next day and reenacted the scene. From this he determined that the creature must have been much taller than even he was, to have looked taller than the berm from the distance that he saw it. I have to admit, I didn't believe him at first. I thought he was just making it up. The following took place in the space of about 2 minutes. While looking up at the trees, I noticed something much closer to us, standing in the field on the other side of the berm. My thought process was actually quite comical. I first dismissed it as a bush, then kept looking up at the trees. I glanced at it again, then thought it was a man, a very tall man. Then I looked at it longer and realized that it was covered in brown hair, and, rather than the Sasquatch-like creature I would have expected, it had a dog-like head, most comparable to a German shepherd. I asked my friend, "Are you seeing this?" And he said, "You mean that figure over there?" There was a moment of silence in which the creature walked off to the left, to an area where the berm was too high to see over, and disappeared. I believe we both shouted, "Oh shit!" and sped off. From then on, Lake Ape became Dogman. Both of our accounts of the creature matched up. We agreed that it was 7 to 8 foot tall, was covered in brown fur, had a wide chest and muscular physique, body more akin to a man than Sasquatch is reported to be, had a canine-like head, closely resembling a German shepherd or other wolf-like dog, with large pointed ears. This encounter comes from paranormal@about.com. My sighting took place around 11:30 p.m. on November 4th, 2009. I work for the local 73 toll road in Newport Beach, California, and lately we've had some construction on the surrounding roads for the past few months. I'm a third shift manager, 2 p.m. to 11 p.m., and every night, driving home, I take the exact same route at pretty much the same time every night. On this night, I was coming off the exit for the 133 road connector, and I'll never forget what I saw. While stopped at the stoplight, I saw a group of 3 large, 4-legged creatures dash out from the trees along the road. I started second-guessing myself and tried to convince myself I was seeing things. I made the left turn at the light, and while the speed limit was still 40 miles per hour at this point, I looked up and almost peed my pants. Those 3 beasts were running upright. The wolves, which seemed to be the most logical guess, were about 6.5 feet tall and looked like they easily weighed 250 to 75 pounds each. They had snouts and mouths that almost could be expressive, being able to smile or frown, and the fur was dark, although there wasn't enough light to tell if it was dark brown or black. My car being a 6-cylinder, it could get going if need be. I was going 45 miles per hour, and the giant wolves were keeping up with ease. I then literally put the pedal to the metal and sped up to 70. I was sweating profusely and having a panic attack. As I sped up to 70, the wolf stopped following me, considering I was about to enter a high-traffic part of the road. The wolf in front seemed to stop on a dime and watch me drive off. I did not hear any howls before or after the sighting. I proceeded to head home ASAP. I told my girlfriend what I saw, and she deemed my imagination was running wild. I also told my co-workers the next day following the sighting, but nobody believes me to this day. I know I'm not crazy, and I know what I saw. I still have been taking the same route home every night, and I have not run into anything since that night of the sighting. Who knows what they actually were, but all I know is I do not want to run into them again. This story comes from weirdfresno.com. There are stories of a strange creature prowling the foothills of Fresno County, of a strange creature with long, gray, mangy hair and the face of an ape or baboon, and has both human-like hand and feet. It always appears to be sick, coughing and foaming at the mouth. Legend calls it the devil ape or devil fang, but lately it has gone by the name of the Watts Valley wolf ape, as it has been seen near the Watts Valley Cemetery. There are stories aplenty of the wolf ape, that the first Native Americans that came over the Bering Strait coexisted with the creature, and that there are even drawings of strange creatures that traveled with the Native Americans. When the Europeans came, they found these odd drawings, but no signs of the wolf ape. There's a story that legendary photographer Ansel Adams was taking pictures in Yosemite one day when a pack of wolf apes came upon him while he was in his tent and he had to stay there for safety. An even more peculiar story is that of a wolf ape entering a single-room schoolhouse one day and terrorizing the students and teacher. The children piled up their desks together and climbed up to the safety of the rafters, while the teacher was able to lock himself into a closet. Honorable, the wolf ape tore through the children's desk to get at their lunches. Finally, after getting its fill, it left. Yet another odd story describes a preacher who shot a wolf ape back in the 1950s, claiming it to be a pet of Satan. He hung it up on the church walls, and the story claims the animal to be at least 10 feet long. Apparently, the preacher got into a bit of trouble, as the wolf ape continued to hang on the church for several weeks, and understandably, the place began to smell foul. So the preacher sold it to a traveling circus freak show, and with the money he made off it, he traveled up to San Francisco with the dream of starting his own church up there. He was murdered soon after this, and his body was so badly mutilated that it took several months to identify it. There were whispers of a curse of the wolf ape that was the cause of the preacher's death. Things were quiet for a while, but around the mid-1990s, a wolf ape was seen at Bass Lake, which is in Madera County, drinking water from the small lake. Interesting enough, people mistook it for a hairy man who happened to walk on all fours. The most recent and detailed story was recanted at a local Fresno radio station. There were 2 witnesses, a man and his uncle, who were hunting for garnets near Watts Valley Cemetery when a wolf ape came out of the bushes. The creature was described as a 6-foot-long, gray-haired, mangy dog with a face like a baboon, whose eyes were flat on its face like a human's. It opened its mouth, but only a moan escaped its widening maw, and then it made a strange sound like a cough. Both witnesses began to run from the creature as it began to chase them. The man threw his lunge at the creature, but this only stopped it momentarily. It continued to stalk them over the hills, and the 2 witnesses hopped over fences and ran through pastures, trying to escape the creature. Cows fled as it chased the 2 men. Finally, they found themselves in the Watts Valley Cemetery and hid behind some tombstones, hoping to lose the beast. Unfortunately, it caught their scent and started to come towards them when, in a moment of genius, the uncle threw some cinnamon-flavored chewing gum near the beast, hoping the scent would distract it. It worked, and the beast was momentarily occupied. Soon after that, a caretaker for the small cemetery arrived and offered to give the two men a ride back to their car several miles away. All three watched the strange creature for a few more minutes in the safety of the caretaker's truck before it went away. Not much is known about this creature. Theories from failed genetic experiments escaping to another type of Bigfoot has been discussed. Whatever it might be, it seems to be sick, and if cornered, this makes it a dangerous animal. That was all for today, and as always, remember to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any future videos. And take care, and I'll see you next time.